When stories are told brilliantly, opinions are viewed differently. We bring them all together and you get this great soliloquy. When Trinity leaves affinity, our co-host eyes left Mr. Lee. We present you with another round of the Trilogy of Trilogies!
I had not seen that.
Merry Christmas to David. He reminded me today that I said I'd make an intro for it. And you know what? I was wicked inspired for 15 minutes.
What an intro that was. All right, we are shifting gears here to another sequel, a Marvel sequel. Avengers Age of Ultron. So this is the Trilogy of Trilogies. We're back. This is a weird episode because What the News just became a Wonder Woman review. But so what we're going to be talking about today, well, what the news normally would be. We still had What the News. That was very small. Check that out at the beginning of the episode. Anyway, Trilogy of Trilogies. We're back. We haven't done these in a while because Facebook was messing with us. But then the Mandalorian.
Let us make polls, Facebook. Damn you, Zuckerberg!
But then Mandalorian took over, and now WandaVision's coming, which is also going to take place in our second half of the show main topic section. But for now, we're back with the Trilogy of Trilogies, and this week we are kicking it off with our lead up of WandaVision, aka Wanda and Vision's lead up in the MCU with Avengers Age of Ultron, which is basically both of their origins, right? We get a glimpse of Wanda and Pietro at the end of Winter Soldier, but we don't really get introduced to them until this film. I love that post-credit scene, by the way. That was a dope I love Winter Soldier, and that was an amazing post-credit scene, I thought. It was like, oh, here we go. Especially because at the time, these were the two only characters that Fox and Marvel were able to share the rights to, which is interesting.
Yeah. You know, when I create my chronological order, I actually skip Guardians until I get to Phase 3.
Yeah,
100%. I do. Not it was like, I'm just like, no, it flows better when you go to that galactic stuff and then you start at Guardians. Like you can do I'll go to Guardians, then I'll go to Doctor Strange because then it's like, oh, space. That's everybody knows space. But then it goes into Doctor Strange, which is wild, but it ties right into Thor. So that's how I do it. Just a quick aside.
Like Pietro, like Quicksilver, we're going to go kind of quick through what I've got here for Ultron. Quick. Here's my opening. Before I kind of get to some of my notes, I want to hear your initial thoughts. Just based on what we thought of the movie after rewatching it. For me, it had probably been... I rewatched all of the MCU before Infinity War. So it had been over 2 years since I'd probably watched this movie because I don't think I'd watched it since then.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a while. And honestly, I mean, I had this in my notes, so I'll kind of pass over it. This movie is better. It's way better now, actually, in 2020 watching it, like in our time, than it was in 2015 when I went to the theater and watched it. Even though I loved that at the time, I was freaking out. But it's a better experience now that we know what happens, which is crazy to think because you would think, you're not really, you already know what's going to happen. So that would seemingly take stuff away from the actual movie at hand. But in this movie, it does not. So this is what I started off with. The first thing that I think of is this movie, especially after finishing the whole thing, it's a bridge between two stages of the MCU, right? It's not even in between two phases necessarily. Well, I guess it kind of is it's at the end of phase 2.
Yeah, it's right. It's kind of in between two phases. Like it really, to me, it's the turning point.
Yeah. Sure. Turning point. That's a good way of putting it. But it really it takes everything they've built from the beginning, Iron Man 1, well, especially in between the end of Avengers, like the first Avengers movie until when we get to Ultron, it just takes all of that and just sets up the third phase so beautifully. I mean, so beautifully. It looking back now, it's a wonder how much they were able to squeeze in without making the movie complete garbage. Because Feige gave Joss Whedon a hard job because he had to fit in so much stuff into this film to set up stuff that he didn't even like. You wouldn't even really know what's happening next necessarily. Feige obviously did. He had an idea, but they lay so many little seeds and nuggets and all this stuff. And here's the thing: we're talking about Wanda and Vision. He does a great job of setting off both these characters. And I thought another note I had. I want to hear
really quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but I really want to know.
Sure.
I kind of want to challenge you on they set it up and Feige set it up and gave this to Joss. My gut tells me this was Joss Whedon's movie. If I remember right, there was only a couple of things that he wanted to include that they asked him to change or asked him to include. And that's the whole visions of the future thing, right? That is where, to me, when I first watched this movie in 2015, when I had just graduated college, holy shit, that was the part of the movie that I loved because of like glimpses of these alternate realities and multiversal things, which turned out to be genuine plot points that we did not realize it at the time, but would completely change the face of all of not just these characters, but the MCU. Yeah. Thor sees Ragnarok. Thor sees Vision. Thor sees the Infinity Stones. Thor sees the very start, like his hero's journey to get to fighting Thanos starts with that vision. Yeah. Right. Steve sees the end of the war, the end of a battle, and himself with Peggy, only to find himself all alone. What happens at the end of it? Endgame. He goes to see Peggy, but he ends up alone. All of his friends have either died or don't know that he's alive. And then he comes back as an old man. Black Widow sets up Black Widow.
Yeah, which we think, I mean, you have to assume you're going to get more of that in that film whenever it comes out. Hopefully May.
And the only one we didn't see, which I think we will soon, is Hulk. What did Hulk see?
Yeah, you know what's funny is when I was watching the film, I'm like, dang, I would have loved to see. I mean, you have to assume it's just him being crazy destructive because I believe that's his biggest fear. Is just that like the whole basically what happens is his biggest fear, not being able to control his rage and him being this whole beast. Here's my thing, right? I think Vision and Wanda wise, it does a really good job of origin stories. And here's a note I had that I really wanted to make a point of that I think is kind of clear. I believe that it's clear now when you're watching this film that they set up Wanda a lot more than they do Pietro. And it's, it's subtle when you're first watching it, but now you see they give Wanda all the like better moments, I guess, and more meaningful stuff, especially when it comes to that one scene that everyone knows in this film when Hawkeye's like, you walk out of this door and you're an Avenger. You can sit in here, you can hide, you can wait for your brother to come pick you up. But if you walk out of that door, you're an Avenger.
Underrated.
Yeah, that's a really good scene. I like that scene a lot.
That's when everyone said Hawkeye was the heart of the Avengers, and that has never changed until after Civil War.
Everyone,
and even in Civil War, he's still the damn heart because he looks at Tony and he's like, "Listen, you kept her locked up in her room. That's not how you do this. She's an adult." And then he's fighting with Black Widow, and he's like, "We're still friends, right? Depends on how hard you punch me." And then T'Challa comes over and knocks him out, and it's like, "Oh, you hurt Clint, you son of a
bitch." Yeah. Clint's really good in this movie. I like all the stuff where he goes and we see his family and we learn all that. That's some of the stuff where it's like, when you're first watching it, that's more of a fun reveal than the second time. Or like, the whatever time I saw it a bunch in theaters. But anyway, one thing I really wanted to point out, I'm just gonna go. Oh wait, Thomas, did you want to like kind of start off with anything, or do you want me just to go into my notes a bit?
Let me recheck the notes really. For the most part, a lot of what you have to say are things that I wanted to bounce off of. Yeah, but I really, on that Pietro thing, because I don't think we're gonna retouch that again. When I watched this movie, by itself, Pietro has the most development I think is the best way to say it. So that when he dies, like you like him because first off, he's Aaron Tyler Johnson or Aaron Taylor Johnson, one of those two. Taylor. He's always cool, man. Like he played Kick-Ass, and then he just came from Godzilla, where fun fact, he was married to Elizabeth Olsen. Weird turnaround, right?
Yeah.
Which also explains something that really bothered me. They had like a weird chemistry that was a little bit like unnerving when you watch it at times.
I remember when this movie was coming out, that like connection, everyone was like, "Wait, this is so weird."
And being like a fan of the comics, super unnerving because they are. Anyways, we're not going to go down that dark rabbit hole of their life, but he's cool. He's this, he's that. He's got the funny lines. Oh, you didn't see that coming? Didn't see that coming. And he's got, like he's got certain things, and he builds things up for her. We wait. It's big hole in the ground, and this, and there's a name on it, and she just looks over Stark, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So they set him up. So
her eyes glow when she says it.
And her eyes glow. So that scene really encapsulates their relationship and what it means. He sets it up and she carries it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that when he dies, it breaks you, it breaks Hawkeye, because he's like, this kid just redeemed himself. And so that like he redeemed himself because he knew he's a fighter. Like you could tell he's a fighter. He's going to do what he has to do to fight and protect. But she was always a little bit more timid and afraid of her powers.
Right.
And so when things happen and we see what she does, it's just even better, which we'll get to later. So let's go into your notes, because you had more thoughts about. I just sat there and went, this movie is so good. It sets up phase 3. It sets up phase 4. It sets up so many things. And at the time, we didn't realize it. And I really think that is, similar to what the Mando is doing with the rest of Star Wars.
Right.
The MCU did with Age of Ultron.
So here's how I want to begin. Is to me watching this, it's Iron Man is the number one character again. He is the lead character. He is. He creates Ultron. What? Do you disagree? Or are you just upset about that fact?
The second one.
Because it's true. It's so true. Like I'm sitting there watching this, I'm like, this is an Iron Man film. I mean, it's not completely, but it's Iron. Exactly. That's my point. Huh?
Exactly why I don't like it. They're always an Iron Man film, except for Avengers 1. That's a real ensemble.
Yeah, that one totally is a real ensemble. This one,
this one annoyed me because of that, but knowing where it leads really made me love it a lot more. Like,
I would say the second biggest ensemble is Infinity War.
I'd say that's a bigger ensemble.
I mean, like from the fact that it's spread out more than this one. Even though Iron Man still is what you would argue still has the combined most screen time between Infinity War and Endgame, because Captain America gets like the sort of end of the stick in Infinity War. But but still, like and then in Endgame, it's more about the original. It's more about Cap and Iron Man. But in this movie, like it is still an ensemble. But Iron Man, like he creates Ultron, and it beautifully sets up Civil War, where he's now like in Civil War. You get there, and it's like I need to be like kept in check because I can't keep screwing these things up. I think Iron Man's a great, he's a fantastic character. And in this movie, he is the number one lead, and he does create Ultron, and like literally, it just kind of is what it is. And you notice in the way they even talk about it, like they don't give Banner hardly any like credit for really making him. Like they do a bit, but he's kind of like the sidekick he's kind of like the helpful scientist that's like fueling Tony's imagination and curiosity and like desire. And and the biggest point is just that this Iron Legion idea. And I didn't write this down, but thinking about it now, rewatching the final scene between, also full spoilers all over the place for this movie. Don't even mention that.
5 years old.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Just letting everyone know for whatever.
Family, if you haven't watched it, call me. I'll give you my Vudu account. I have them all.
Or if you have Disney Plus, it's there.
Oh yeah. I also have that.
That's what I watched on. Anyway, the final scene of when it's just Vision and Ultron talking, and it's the final Ultron. That hit me more today or yesterday watching it or whatever day than it ever had. I really was paying attention, heard every word. I'm like, holy crap. The part, I wish I had the line, where Ultron, it's James, who voices Ultron? James Spader.
Or as you like to say, Robert
California. So good in the part. He goes, he's like, I was supposed to be this beacon of hope, or whatever he says. Like, he's supposed to look into the sky at me, because Ultron. He's like in that's a throwback to what Tony's original Ultron idea was of the Iron Legion and of this desire. Yeah, suit of armor on their own. A desire to all those great lines of isn't the other scene, the amazing scene between him and Cap when he ends up ripping the thing in half at the farm. Isn't the point of the job to like not have the job so we can go home? I'm butchering the lines, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, that's actually the exact line. Isn't that the point? Isn't that the job to end the mission so we can all go home? Yeah. I butchered the line for sure. You had it more close. Yeah, and then he's just like, every time you try to end a war before it starts, innocent people die every time.
Or fight a war. I think it's just fight a war before it starts. Because it's like he's just trying to come up with stuff. Or was it end? I don't know.
I think it's end a war.
Oh, I think you're right, because he's trying to end it.
Mm-hmm.
That it's so it sets things up so well, and it's great. This is the thing. If you hadn't having watched Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, these lines mean so much more now, which is crazy to think. Because in the moment, oh, that's a cool line. Like, oh, we're excited for what's coming up next. But now we know what happens, and it sets it up beautifully. So there's that. I also wanted to point out another point of it setting things up, and my final notes later will be more about Wanda and Vision, which will kind of end us tonight. The worst part is that you didn't die. When Nick Fury says it to Tony Stark, talking about his vision when Fury meets him in the barn, and it's a really good line where, and it takes us back, it takes us forward to the end of Infinity War. The worst part is that you didn't. And it's talking about Tony Stark's vision of all of his Avengers friends dying, and it's at his hand, and the aliens are invading Earth. And at the end of Infinity War, he's the one left alive with Nebula, and everyone else he thinks is dead, and he's left for dead. And that is a beautiful connection that I just thought was, watching this again, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is literally his biggest fear, his worst nightmare, is that it wasn't just that they all were dead, is that he was still alive and they were all gone. So I just thought that was a beautiful setup.
I want to bounce off that. I didn't even think about the Nebula and end of Infinity War. I just thought of, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play and lay down on the wire. No, I'd rather just step over the wire. Or I'd rather just cut the wire and move on. And it's like, oh, okay. And then in this, he watches everyone die, and all he can think is, his whole plot is save the people. We got to do this. He's the first one. The town's being attacked. Jarvis, start the Iron Legion. Like, he's the one who says, do that. Yeah. And then he sees the vision, and Cap says, why didn't you do more?
Yeah.
You could have done more. And to me, I saw that and went, oh, he could have done more. That's why when he's fighting Thanos, to me, I finally made the connection. I didn't make the connection from Tony Stark, the worst part is you didn't die, or Fury part, to Infinity War, but I definitely made that connection to as soon as Captain Marvel gets hit with the Infinity Stone and it can be taken off, I now think he goes, holy shit, I can take the stones back. Right. And he goes over because he's thinking, I've got to do more.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to know what Tony was thinking in that moment, right before he goes and makes the ultimate sacrifice play. And I think it's, wow, I can do more. I've got to do more.
Dang.
And it's like, he gets it. And that's why when he says it, he does it with so much. Yeah. I'm sorry, big dick energy when he goes, and I am Iron Man.
Man.
And he's just got this look on his face of fuck. And it just snaps. It's not, like that. He's just like Iron Man. And he's gritting his teeth while he snaps because he knows he's about to do all of it. He's about to do everything.
Right.
So
True.
everyone else. So he dies and everyone else can go home because he already lost Widow again on that mission. And so the fact that he brought everyone back, he's not willing to lose another person.
So that's kind of the end of Ultron being a great setup movie. Yeah. I also quickly want to I don't want to exclude it because I realized I kind of jumped over this. I enjoy Ultron. I think he's a good villain. He is definitely a bridge between two phases villain because he is a they brought it upon themselves. He's not coming with his own motivations, but he has deep motivations. He's funny, sarcastic. He's an interesting character. I love that when he gets the Wakanda oh my gosh,
vibranium.
I almost said adamantium. The vibranium juice up that he gets, and he gets all this stuff. It's cool. I don't know. I liked how he was trying to get into Vision and how that was everyone.
That was good.
Yeah, like both parties wanted Vision to be this greater being, right? They knew this was like the special android, like that would bring almost peace to the galaxy, quote unquote. And yeah, so I thought it was. He had really good motivations. Like he has better motivations than I think any other just dumb old robot in a movie. Like
here's why I really love Ultron, because of everything you just said and the fact that I have always had a fear of artificial intelligence because I understand that we as intelligent beings are fucking stupid. It's my, I think, second or third F-bomb for the episode. Literally, if we had artificial intelligence and they went on the internet, I have no hope for humanity when I go on the internet. I am a human being who understands sarcasm, who understands people, who understands that some people are ignorant and some people, for all intents and for all of their shortcomings, faults, and being jerks, have the right and have to have their difference of opinion from me for the world to properly exist in reality.
Right.
A superpowered being of artificial intelligence who understands the entire world through an instantaneous download of information from the internet ain't gonna think the same damn thing. Hashtag Skynet, hashtag Cylons, hashtag every artificial intelligence in movies ever.
Yeah.
So Ultron totally worked here. I've always loved it. And here, I'm going to just, before we jump into Wanda and Vision, I'm going to ask another rhetorical question. Is Ultron really gone? I was, oh no, what's the start? I know this. I was bound, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me. No,
I'd like to see him return.
I need it. Well, technically, in canon, he does return because of that.
Oh, that weird. Was that canon?
They said it was. So
really,
I need it to be canon. Damn it! I want more. Robert California.
Yeah, he's really good in the role. He has a good plot in this movie, though. He has a good. He first gets into the internet and he's like, "Oh, you guys are all screwed. You guys should be gone. I'm gonna kill Jarvis." Right? Like he gets all these. He becomes emotional very quickly and smart. And I like all the stuff with him trying to get the nuclear missile codes and how Jarvis was built was underground doing it. That was a really fun little, Jarvis, our good friend that we've known over all these years. And a really good. Let's kind of get to it. A really good, I guess, evolution of Jarvis and Paul Bettany to being now Vision, which is really cool for Paul Bettany. He said in an interview, I forget what I was reading it or something where he said he's like, "Oh, I never thought I'd there was never really an initial plan for being Vision." Did I send this to you?
I don't think so. I knew that there was no initial plan because it was when they asked Joss Whedon to come back. He said, "My only term is Paul Bettany is Vision."
It was a really good interview moment where he's like, dude, he was just like, I hadn't had a job in a while. Like I was almost being like jobless. And suddenly Marvel calls me back and is like, hey, you want to be Vision next Avengers movie? And he's like, absolutely. And yeah, so that I thought that was really cool. And let's get to it. So, all right, the next part before we really dive into Wanda. Well, this is about Wanda, so let's get to it. Pietro's death, which is, it's being set up as in the moment, it's like, oh my gosh, it's Hawkeye about it. He's trying to save the kid or whatever. And then Pietro runs in, gets him. He's dead. He seems dead, right? I mean, maybe in WandaVision we'll see something. But in my mind, like for the purpose of the MCU and everything, him dying here is for the sole purpose to motivate Wanda. And the reason I say that is because, we weren't really, I think when I first saw it, it wasn't this like, it was, oh no, Pietro dies. Darn. Like, I mean, it's not like it was a beloved, already.
Really how you felt?
I wasn't heartbroken. It wasn't like Cap died. Like it wasn't like an already, like we just met this guy, right?
He was literally my favorite character that was introduced in that movie. I love Ultron. I loved Wanda, but he had everything you wanted from a new Avenger edition.
Right. I liked him. And I wasn't in love.
Also, his costume, I love it.
It's cool.
So much. I need it. I still am trying to find an actual sweatshirt that's made of wool, so it has the proper texture, so then I can look like Chris Evans in Knives Out, baby.
Yeah. So basically, like, I just think the motivation's really just for Wanda there. Like, I don't. And it was a death in an Avengers movie, a real death, not like I'm gonna come back death from all intents and purposes. So very interesting. We may see him in WandaVision in some sort of form or fashion, because it seems like that could be the direction we're going in, that crazy show we're heading into. But also, right after that scene, when Wanda gets up, when Wanda like senses that he died, because she doesn't even, or I don't even know if it's on comms or anything, and she just gets on her knees and screams out, and the Ultron bots don't just like break or like get like shockwaved away. They disintegrate.
They turn to dust.
Fine powder. It's I was talking to some of my friends. Like, Wanda is such a cool character. Like, I think that might be part of the reason why, to me, Pietro and stuff like didn't stick out. She's so cool and she's so powerful, and we see that in an Endgame when she almost takes out Thanos. I just love her. I can't wait for WandaVision for those reasons. And just it's cool. She's not Captain Marvel. She doesn't have this like crazy confidence, and she's not fully like in her power and stuff. And like she's totally different than Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Both female, like super powerful beings. She has this kind of these more emotions to her, and there's something different going on with her. It's also with her powers too, where it's like there's something more kind of like, I don't know, there's something more like rugged and dark about it, where she can just like mess someone up when she gets angry. And it seems like her cap of like her capabilities is so there is none. And another point I wanted to make out, she uses abilities in this film that we don't really see in others. Like, I hope they bring back some. Like, there's that one part where she like does the thing with the train, where she like puts something down, or like she's using, what I'm talking about, like the wiring, or like whatever the heck that was.
I do know what you're talking about. That's not so much wiring. It's the same thing she did in Civil War, where she tried to grab the bomb and move it away. It's encapsulating whatever it is. And she did the same thing with the blocks when she disintegrated the blocks.
I see.
She disintegrated the blocks. She stopped the train. And then when it came to the bomb, something happened and it disintegrated in her hands while she was moving it away as she got strained.
Yeah.
So one thing is kind of, it does get tied in, but we haven't seen, and then she does it to Thanos.
Well, she's holding him. Yeah.
She holds him down. So that's the thing that does. Oh, I just shrank. Shit.
So anyway, let's get to Wanda.
The thing that to me is the most important power that we've yet to see again is I don't know how to say it anything else other than altering people's perception of reality.
Yes, I completely agree. We haven't seen that yet, or we haven't seen that since. And I'm like, this is such a powerful tool.
And WandaVision, I think, is all that power.
Is it doing it to herself?
Ooh.
It's almost like when you can almost like keep clicking like a button to like reset or something. Like you don't want to live your real life, and she can just be like,
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! I just saw this in a movie. Oh my god, what is it? Oh my god,
yeah.
No.
What am I?
Was that? No, no, not a movie. Sorry, a book. That's what it is. Supermarket by Logic. It touches on schizophrenia and getting stuck in a schizophrenic loop. Holy shit!
You like that?
WandaVision's plot?
My bad.
It's okay, because if that's the case, it's because
we heard it here first.
It's because we went back to her origin story.
Because we're here on the trilogy of trilogies, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you find all the good stuff when you go back and learn. All right, Thomas. Any more things to jump off of without what I've already said?
Were you
going?
Keep going.
Okay, so now
all right, I did have one thing. So the disintegration of Ultron, boys, after Pietro dies, it is awesome. But both Wanda and Thor's vision foreshadow to the disintegration of 50% of life in Infinity War, which is intriguing because obviously Wanda is a birth of an Infinity Stone. And Thor fails. And the quote from Heimdall is, "You're a destroyer, Odin's son." Damn, that's a good Idris Elba.
That was
You're
pretty
a
good.
destroyer, Odin's son. You destroy all that you see. And then that's when lightning, which at that point in time he could not conjure without Mjolnir, starts branching off of him, and it starts hitting people, and they dust instantly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
True. Yeah, that's good.
Love it.
So now let's get to like kind of the Wanda and Vision moments that we really want to like bring up, because we have to, because this is what we're getting to. And we'll see a lot more in the next ones. But this is the origins of it. The origins. So she can read him immediately, right? Like the second he's still in the little nest, and it's kind of reading Ultron too, because Ultron's like uploading his consciousness. But she reads him immediately, and she goes, "I can read him. He's dreaming." Or he is dreaming, whatever. I can't do the accent. I'm not even going to try. They stare, and then
nice. That's close enough.
When he first busts out after Thor comes in and goes on it, right when he's like first off, it's like he's he's in what even is like he's in like stance of like a left guard, and then he comes, and when he looks up, as
an offensive lineman, thank you.
You're welcome. When he looks up, the next shot is Wanda staring right back at him. And it's like, ooh, I like that a lot. Especially this is where this movie really clicks when you've seen all of the MCU, because like, oh my gosh, it's setting up so much. And then the big moment, right, is he saves her from the train like that. And that was the obvious moment when you first saw it, where we knew from the comics about Wanda and Vision. And I was like, oh, he saves her from the train. They're setting this up a little bit. But this time, he really goes out of his way to save her, right? There is like a clear, obvious indication that he does like care for her. And I think maybe not. I mean, I think he would just save anyone who was still like trapped on there. But there's this moment where he looks at her and they both look at each other, and it's like he's off, and he looks very stoic because he's Vision. So that's kind of for that. Here's one thing. And also, so the movie's ending. We get the Avengers moment with the new Avengers, which is including Rhodey and Falcon and Vision and Wanda. So those two obviously are connected on this new team. And here's my question when I was writing these notes earlier. When I have an answer. Okay, I'm ready for the answer because I didn't know the answer. Where is Vision at the beginning of Civil War when they're fighting? What's his name? What was it?
Frank Crossbones.
Crossbones.
It's Crossbones.
When they're fighting Crossbones, we have Falcon, we have Black Widow, we have Cap, we have Wanda. Where is Vision?
I'm pretty certain that they didn't bring him on that mission because he could not blend in. I don't believe we had yet seen him transform into human
Cap
clothes.
can blend in. Only 2 people were blending in there. Only Wanda and
Here's
only
my question
Black
for
Widow.
Civil War, which we'll find out next week. Where the frack was Cap even at? Wasn't he like hiding somewhere or something?
Tune in next week to episode 39 of Let's Interaction to find out where Vision was and what the heck was going on at the beginning scene. Because where is Vision? That would have been, they would have avoided that entire explosion if Vision had been there. It would have been easy. Vision would have destroyed Crossbones in 2 seconds.
Well, it's not about destroying Crossbones, but he would have stopped the bomb. He would have made the bomb sink. Ooh, you know what?
He would have thrown it in the air.
He would have just flown it into the air, and then he would have gone
darted down.
He would have changed his density or the bomb's density so that everything changed. But I think the reason they didn't have Vision there is because it was meant to be a stealth mission to go in, fight, and they didn't realize that that was going to be the case. You know,
we're gonna find out next week again when we rewatch.
We will find out because I was thinking, oh, he's trying to learn about human civilization, and then I'm like, oh no, I think that is Infinity War, where he's trying to learn a little bit more. I think that might be a line, but no, I don't. That's a good question. That's a very damn good question. Spinning out of this scene, another thought that I had was Wanda has a show, Vision has a show. Falcon has a show.
Rhodey has a show. Dang. It's the Disney Plus squad there. It's the Disney Plus Avengers.
And the 2 people left from the original Avengers are gone after Endgame. Yep. One is dead and one is basically also almost dead.
And then at least one we're getting a movie of, which is long deserved.
Will we? Sorry. Got to me, man.
All right. And here's my final, most important, most eloquent point of this entire podcast and of this movie. I am so glad they dumped the Wanda stupid accent. It is just pure bad. The entire movie, I do not like it. I'm glad they did it, and it doesn't make sense that she loses it because it's her whole life and she should still have an accent just as thick. I do not care. It is distracting. I do not like it. I love Elizabeth Olsen, but I don't think it's that great. And I am so glad they phased it out, and now we really don't have it. If you listen to a WandaVision trailer, there is no accent. And I am.
Is that what you're basing it on? Wow, I'm so close to the mic.
I'm not completely basing it off that, but I also if you go back and watch Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, well, we're going to watch it. It's not really there. It's a Civil War. It's there more, but they phased it out. Really,
I'm gonna make a declaration. It's still there. She just got way better at it. That it's less pronounced.
I'm glad whatever happened because in this,
when she sees Thanos, she's like, "You took everything from me."
Yeah, it's not like
It's there, but it's not as pronounced.
You might be right. I think she might be a lot better at it, but I think it also could be they told her to tone it down and do it's slight.
It's both. Technically, similar to how Thor went by Ragnarok. He's like, but you want to know how I got in this cage? Had a vision, so tried to chase a couple of colored Infinity Stone thingies, didn't find any. It's that same thing. She's been, by that point, it would be 5 years, 2018. So she's been messing around in America, living with Americans, on the run with Americans for such a long time it gets a little bit more of a blended accent, and especially in Endgame. She has 3 or 4 lines in Endgame, but the one I remember is, "You took everything from me," and I'm doing it way over the top. And then Thanos is like, "I don't even know who you are," and she goes, "You will," and I'm like, and the way that she inflects on the ill of that sentence of "you will," it's like, oh, there's the accent. Elizabeth, my favorite old daughter.
Nice.
I grew up with the original Olsen twins.
I love Full House. Yeah.
I'm only oh shit, I think I'm 3 years younger than them. So
Mary Kate and Ashley, shout out. I love Mary Kate and Ashley. I love all the Olsen daughters, whatever.
All the Olsen sisters. That's it.
All the Olsen sisters. Okay. My final thing.
Sorry, go.
Vision and the Olsen sisters next on Disney Plus.
Vision and the Olsen sisters. Olsen sisters.
Maybe that's what happens in the sitcom. Anyway, what American Ashley show
I
off?
can't say what I'm thinking of.
Okay. My final thing, it's actually like, I mean, it's not serious. My final thing is, do you think, okay, this is for you specifically, Mr. Thor fan himself. Okay, it's like he's just touched on it. I want to bring it up. It's clearly set up in this film what feels like in Thor 3. Sorry, tongue twister. In Thor 3, we were going to, which would end up being Ragnarok. We were going to get like Thor chasing after and looking for these stones, and what we end up getting is a throwaway line and Ragnarok. Mm-hmm. I don't know this. I haven't seen an interview. This could already have been proven wrong. I think that initially they were going to make the Thor 3 movie a different plot, but then they decided to take a left turn with Taika Waititi coming in and made Ragnarok, because they set it up in a way that seems like there's no way they were just setting it up for a throwaway line. It seems like they were going to have Thor go on a journey in Thor 3 for those Infinity Stones that we never see. And I remember it brought me back watching that. I'm like, oh, right. Like, that was what was supposed to happen. And then I was thinking, like, that doesn't happen in Ragnarok. We just get Ragnarok, which is an amazing movie. Thor, thank you for joining our show. What do you have to say on this?
Well, as everyone's resident favorite Thor from both the comics and the movies, and this is a shitty reality that we all live in, 2020. It's both. It's definitely both. I got to drop the accent because otherwise I'm gonna fuck up the whole time. They did speak. Feige has spoken about how hard getting Thor 3, the script was, because he said a long time ago, and it said, you'll bring about Ragnarok. They mentioned Ragnarok on the nose for, you got the text? They mentioned Ragnarok in that scene. And so for me, I was like, oh my God, they're doing Ragnarok in Thor 3. So when they announced it, everyone was like, oh my God, they're doing Ragnarok. And I'm like, oh my God, they said it in Ultron, you freaking twits. But I was expecting a little bit more on the Infinity Stones. And I have a feeling that they were trying to incorporate a little bit here and there. Mm-hmm. They were having trouble getting there.
Yeah.
They were having trouble setting it up properly. Because as we know, once they got to Civil War, that's when they started breaking ground on Infinity War and started breaking ground on Endgame.
Yeah.
And exactly. As that started to make its shape, and as they had a script that they wanted with Thor, which for all intents and purposes is still the movie we got on in Ragnarok. It's still the same script. They were planning on having Hulk in there. They were planning on cutting Thor's hair. They were planning on the gladiators. They were planning on going to Ragnarok and Hela being there. And then it leads to the destruction of Asgard. That was the plan. And if you watch that movie and remove the comedy, it is the most depressing, tragic movie in the MCU. That is including Infinity War, because at least in Infinity War, we get some really fun moments. And at the end of the movie, well, okay, sorry, I'm a dark hedonistic. I like dark side of the Force, #Empire. So when that movie ended, I was like, maybe, I don't know, man. I'm not good with words. I'm good with numbers, man. No, at the end of Infinity War, everyone was like, how could they end the movie? And I was like, it's perfect. It is fracking perfect. I'm like, can you believe they killed them? And I'm like, yes and no.
That was Jasmine after Infinity War. She's like, like, what the heck was that? I'm like, it's part 1.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, don't you read the internet, man? Don't you know what happens? But like, when it comes to Ragnarok, I definitely think they had more than just a throwaway line. But when Taika came in, and Hemsworth has, as Terry McIver saying in the comments, has said that Thor was getting stale and he wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So when they had the script and they, knew what Thor or what Hemsworth was wanting, they were like, let's try. We need to bring someone in to add a little bit more levity to this incredibly depressing, everybody's about to die flick. Yeah. And so when they brought in Taika, it became easier to just have a throwaway line because you're not going to be like, oh, well, what about his vision? Which, if we think about the vision, all he knew was there were Infinity Stones, and that led to the creation of Vision. And Vision was very important to the Infinity Stones' future.
Yeah.
That lines up. He is the last stone. His exact quote, if I'm not mistaken, is, I've had a vision, and at the center of it is the Mind Stone. There's been et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if he's worthy of the Mind Stone, this is from later in the movie, if he's worthy of the Mind Stone, or if he's worthy of Mjolnir, he's worthy of the Mind Stone. So what tracks with the Infinity Stone stuff lines up for Infinity War and Endgame beautifully. Mm-hmm. And what sets up with, Heimdall, your eyes. I see everything, Odinson. That was some more of Loki, but whatever. We're canceling the apocalypse. There it is. That's Idris Elba. Gerald. What movie?
I don't know.
Finding Dory.
Oh my gosh.
He's the seal. Gerald, this is my rock, Gerald.
Of course.
It's my favorite part of Finding Dory. The part I remember from that movie. Like,
I've only seen that movie like one time. I don't remember like anything about it.
So it totally does line up, and I'm really happy with Ragnarok. I wish it. The only thing I wish is that it were longer.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I want to rewatch that one soon. Maybe we'll sink that into a trilogy. Oh, for Loki,
son of a blue. Yes.
Yeah. All right. We'll get.
Oh man, that's 5 movies, bro.
We could do some stuff there. It's a lot of movies.
You know what? Well, okay. Thor, Avengers,
Thor 2,
Dark World, and Ragnarok, then Infinity War. I think that's how we have to break the 3 together.
Infinity War.
He dies, bro. It's important.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. So Thor, Avengers, Dark World, Ragnarok, and Infinity War. Because it's only one scene in Infinity War.
And there's that, and Endgame, because he grabs the stone. He grabs the Tesseract in Endgame. So, like, not actually Endgame, but Endgame.
The trailer of Endgame. The trailer of Loki. Fine.
Yeah, exactly. The trailer.
The trailer of Loki. The final thing I really want to say, because we were talking about, well, first off, it's a slight tangent. I noticed when you were talking about that scene with Hawkeye and stuff. Hawkeye loses Pietro because Pietro saved him, and then he loses his family because of Thanos, and that leads to his downfall as Ronin, which I think will fully set up Hawkeye. Nothing to do with our plot here, but here's something that is to do with our plot. The final scene with Ultron and Vision, which you were talking about.
Yeah.
Here's the exact breakdown. You're afraid of death. You're the last one. You were supposed to be the last. I'm sorry, that was wrong.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be the last. Stark asked for a savior and settled for a slave. I suppose we are both disappointments. I suppose we are. Humans are odd. They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be. But their grace is in their failings. I think you missed that. They're doomed. Yes. But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. It's a privilege to be among them. You're unbearably naive.
Yeah,
Well,
that's good.
I was born yesterday. So the most important thing for me is this vision line. They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be. Death. But their grace is in their failings. Wanda. And then, of course, I do love I was born yesterday.
Yeah. It's a great, I mean, that's a great scene. Like, that is a really great scene. And it's better as almost every scene in this movie after seeing all of the MCU. Because I just don't know what to say. Like, it's just this masterful stuff. Like, it's really masterful stuff. Because it's crazy to think that 5 years later, we can go back and watch this film, over 5 years later, and it's better now. It's just better because of what we've seen. It's just flat out better. And it's just a testament to the MCU. And I'm happy we watched this, man. This was a really fun trilogy of trilogies episode.
Yeah, I have this is going to be a hard question. Is there any scene that's worse after everything else?
I hate the language scene. Language?
Oh my God. That's still funny to me. To me, the scene that's worse, and it's not like the scene is worse. It just hits me and I feel worse about it, is when they reveal Hawkeye's family. And okay, here's something that I totally
I think that's better now.
Like I said, it makes me feel worse.
Okay. Well, I think it's more emotional. Yeah, exactly.
I can't handle. Okay, but here is two scenes that I really noticed that intrigued me beyond belief. Okay, I still don't know how I feel about the Banner Widow thing, only because it makes Widow seem weird a little bit, but I love the way it unfolds, because the very, very minute that we find out that Natasha knew about the family, aka, Daddy, did you bring Auntie Nat? And she's all over there like, I gotta put on the cool aunt face as a cool uncle. I get that.
Yeah. And
she's like, well, why don't you come over here and find out yourself? And the look from Banner is so effing angry. Like, it's the same look he gives her in the middle of their scene in Avengers 1 when he does something.
When he's the Hulk.
Not when he's the Hulk. It might be that's what it is. When he's grabbing the Mind Stone, I'm sorry, the scepter, and she's like, you came on here willing. He says something. Oh, and you've been doing what exactly? And he's got the exact same look on his face.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my. And I wonder if in She-Hulk, are we going to get a little bit more of an emotional resolution from that storyline? Because, when they finally see each other in Infinity War, it's like the world is literally crumbling. And it's like, yeah, I'm back. Bruce. Nat. And it's like, oh, this is awkward.
Yeah, it is awkward. I like that now, but
I love it, because it's like, it works for how they worked. He's awkward. She likes him. He's a dork. She loves that he's a dork. I need a girl that loves a dork. That's also not like also a spy and really good at lying at the same time. I mean, if I had to choose, but sorry, my Clueless vibes kicked in really quick. But and then in the end game, they have a couple scenes together here and there, and because he's Hulk and Banner, he's like, "I'm great, everything's way crazy," and we live in crazy times, and she's like, "I've seen crazier," and he's like, "Yeah, you have."
There's also that scene where she says, I remember a time when this seemed inconceivable, which is which also makes the scene in this movie. I'm telling you, when she and Ruffalo Banner are having it out in the room after he showers, and they're talking about like how
that's the scene.
Banner's just like, we can never be. It can't work. Like, I'm this monster, and she's like, I'm a monster too, and all this stuff. When we see that line in Endgame, when she goes, this at one point, that's what she's referencing, and it makes this movie even better. Like when you ask me what makes this movie, like which scene is now worse, honestly, there really isn't many.
Yeah.
I would maybe argue what doesn't add anything is the scene with oh my gosh, Claw,
Oh, Claw.
which is just like there's just no. It's almost just like irrelevant, right? So however you like.
Relevant. No. It does set up Black Panther.
Yeah, it does, but that setup isn't that great compared to others. Like it's a setup that's obvious, right? And then he shows back up, and it's like, all right, he's there. We get it now, but it's not like this like little. There's these little Easter eggs and these little hints that are callbacks that I think are more fun than that. That's an obvious setup for Black Panther.
And I don't see how that became worse.
It didn't. I was just saying that's kind of.
That's the only one that stayed neutral. Got you.
Right.
That is a
Roger.
Yeah. Roger. Totally understand that. Yeah, dude. The Age of Ultron. I don't think I'm really saying anything like crazy right now. Easily the most underrated Avengers film out of all four.
Absolutely.
And honestly, after this rewatch,
no.
I might like it more than the first Avengers.
No, there's no way.
There's
still no way.
Listen, David, it's not that it's better. It's that I like it more. Okay.
Loki. Oh.
Listen, I got a real bone to pick with how everyone interprets what I say. Everyone says that I say Back to the Future 3 is a better movie than Back to the Future 1. Wrong. I like it more. Doesn't mean it's better. I just happen to enjoy it more.
Right.
Similar to how I still enjoy Thor: The Dark World. Doesn't mean it's a good film. I just like Thor.
Who's been giving you crap about Back to the Future 3?
Oh my God. So many people. So you, Ryan Permison, pretty much everyone from HWWS. Everyone's like, how can you say it's better? And I'm like, I ain't even going to argue because nobody comprehends the Tourette's brain.
I get it. Back to the Future is my favorite movie like ever. So it is hard to.
I mean, exactly. See, and to me, it's a good movie, but there are certain things in it that pull me out just enough to where I'm like, I like the third one more.
Gotcha.
I enjoy the experience of the third one more.
Right.
And that's why I might enjoy Age of Ultron more than, and I say might, that's a big, fat, super-sized, Hulk-sized, Stark Tower-sized if on whether that's true or not, because the Avengers has never been bad once in my life, and Age of Ultron has been bad a couple times. I've been drunk enough to where I'm like, this movie doesn't make sense. And like, dude, you just fell asleep for 20 minutes. Oh, true. There were some dark times, man. Dark times.